He always spares his thoughts for his people, especially the poor, and that has made him so respectable.
Humble and caring for the welfare of the ordinary people.
He had traveled wide and far into the remote villages, trying to get a first-hand understanding of the people's lives.
He is working for his people tirelessly. He has done what he promised to his people. We are barely into 2022. Chinese President Xi Jinping's schedule has been hectic. He visited local families in North China's Shanxi province ahead of the Chinese New Year, attended the stunning opening and closing ceremonies of the Beijing 2022 Olympic Winter Games, and held a flurry of high-level face-to-face meetings with foreign dignitaries on the sidelines of the event.
And of course, he will be busy during the upcoming 2 sessions, arguably among the most important annual events on China's political calendar. The president will join national lawmakers and political advisors to deliberate and discuss important issues concerning China's economic, social development, and people's well-being.
With a political career that spans decades, President Xi Jinping has a solid record of working for the people and the country.
Right, and over the years, he has interacted with people from all walks of life and many countries. We actually spoke to some foreign sinologists to find out what they know about the man that leads China on a new journey. First visiting China in 1972, Stephen Perry has personally met and talked with President Xi on several occasions. Let's see his impression of Xi.
What I can say about President Xi is that when I met him, I looked into his eyes as he was talking. I could see a man who'd experienced poverty, who'd experienced the life of the peasants of China. A sort of fairly modest man, put the needs of the Chinese people at the top of his agenda.
Rick, President Xi once said, to put it simply, my governance philosophy is to serve the people and shoulder my dual responsibilities. Do you know why? He always puts people the first.
And I believe that it's tied to his personal experience of living and working in the countryside. His journey has been long and substantive. He went from being a village official to the country's most senior position. Robert Kun got to know Xi as early as Xi's tenure in Xizang. What is his impression of the Chinese leader?
As I began to see his background, where he literally was at every level of government, plus in his early days in the military, and then of course his 6 or so years at the most grassroots level. So he has appreciated all elements of Chinese society, and he also has his own visionary compass of what he thinks and what China is to do.
President Xi would have been enormously moved by what he experienced in the caves of Shanxi. I think that taught him life of the peasants of China was very, very hard if they needed solutions, and would have made him identify very closely with the reform and opening up period, but also to look beyond that at how to build a modern China for the people of China. He will prove to have been a very effective man for the benefit of the people of China.
Charles Onanaju from Nigeria and Saifullah Khan Niazi from Pakistan are big fans of Xi. They studied Xi's thoughts and how he governed such a big country as China to get experience for their own countries.
He had been serving the Chinese people from the lowest unit. Today is at the leadership of the country. Everything indicates that he was prepared. He understands the challenge of leadership.
He will work for the well-being of his people selflessly, where his self doesn't matter, dedicating his life for the people to bring up their well-being. And that can only be done by a selfless man. He's a selfless man who has worked for his nation, basically. And we need such leaders all across the world.
Rick, you've been in China for how long now?
Well, let's see. I've lived in 4 Chinese cities since 1980. That's about 40 years.
Wow, that's even older than me. You must have witnessed so much happening here.
Of course, tremendous development. I've seen the country achieve big goals one after another in many respects.
Why do you think that could happen?
Well, the words I'm thinking of are leadership, long-term vision, and a down-to-earth approach.
And our China experts have more to say on that.
Many strategic visions need long-term policy and the consistency of long-term policy. When we say long-term, we're not talking about, a year or two. We're talking about 5, 10, 15, even more years for consistency. So the leadership of the party has enabled those kinds of strategic visions. And what are some examples? Poverty alleviation, which I've studied in great detail.
Back in 2012, when Xi was elected to the top post of the Communist Party of China, there were nearly 100 million Chinese living under the poverty line. Since then, a monumental anti-poverty campaign was launched on a scale unseen anywhere in the world. Over 8 years of efforts, the final 98.99 million impoverished rural residents had all been lifted out of poverty.
My favorite quote from him is he said, "I have spent more energy on poverty alleviation than on anything else." I don't know any other national leader who has said that. Wherever he goes, he's in those poor villages. So he speaks with his feet, as we say, not just with his mouth.
The important message from China's conquest of poverty is that poverty is not destined, poverty is not a fate, and a committed leadership with wide policies can actually bring it to a halt. It is very evident that he has left indelible mark and is still leaving the indelible mark.
Another is pollution. I can say honestly that some of the things that President Xi says today, I heard personally in 2005. President Xi from Zhejiang days has talked about green mountains and blue waters are mountains of gold and silver. And so what I saw in him is these big principles that he has applied today nationally were very endemic within him.
I noticed our contributors mentioned Xi's capability to grasp the agenda for change, adapt to changes, and to be responsive to challenges and difficulties.
Yes, I was instantly reminded of China's effective response to COVID and resolute actions against pollution and climate change, all under Xi's leadership.
President Xi emerged from his history of work in China and his understanding of China to be the man that was chosen to lead China. That showed quite quickly that he was able to grasp the agenda for change, that Xi Jinping was able to lead the changed agendas in China. They became less concerned with their own wealth and advancement, and they became more modest and more responsive to the people. And this was seen by us in so many different ways and so many different situations.
President Xi has focused on not just the good big things like developing science or poverty alleviation, but alleviating and worrying about risk, all different kinds of risks as it has occurred, from financial risk to pollution risk to the risk of corruption undermining the party. So he has had the long-term vision, and he's also had the short-term focus on risk.
We could see China under the leadership of President Xi is not paying lip service to inclusive international governance process. He's providing the practical building block to engage humanity in a conversation.
China has achieved a tremendous transformation from standing up, growing rich, to becoming strong. Under the leadership of President Xi, China has embarked on a new journey toward the second centenary goal of building a great modern socialist country.
President Xi brought flesh and vigor to the idea of serving people wholeheartedly.
It is trust, dedication, compassion, devotion, and above all, honesty of the CPC.
Overall, because of background, personality, confidence, that President Xi has provided the leadership which has brought China to where it is. And those of us who have appreciated the development and the success are eager to look forward.
So I think we have a very distinguished and capable man.
On China's new journey, Xi is undoubtedly the core figure in charting the course.
And how will he lead the party and the nation? How will he help make the world a better place by building a community of a shared future for humankind?
Well, the world is watching Xi just as closely as 10 years ago.
See you next time.